Hey, we're live. Thank you. It's another edition of the AfterBuzz, and we apologize. I'm not sure why the title for the AfterBuzz is not changing, because on my screen it does still say Mo Show D&D, but producer Dave over there, I'm literally watching him change it, and for some reason it's not updating properly. But anyway, this is the AfterBuzz. We got a few different topics we're going to get to today. We're going to cover football. We're going to talk about the Oscars. I got a fictional death that we weren't able to get to in the past couple of days here. That was it's more or less an episode that was brilliantly done. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. But first and foremost, we need to let you guys know, if you can, make sure you like the video, make sure you're subscribing to the channel, click the little bell, all the little stuff that you need to. That's down here on the bottom of the screen. Make sure you take care of all that for us to get as many viewers as possible. So let's jump right into the football. Obviously, we had the conference championships this past weekend. And I was not able to watch any of the Saints-Rams game because I was in Austin this past weekend with the wife. She's got some stuff she's doing over there, so we were there over in Austin for the weekend. Just kind of following the games on my phone. But we'll start with the Saints-Rams game, which looked, from what I could tell, the Saints jumped out to a big lead, or at least 13-0. If you're kicking field goals, it's not going to win you the game. But then obviously it's the blown call at the end of the game that cost him the game. It didn't cost him the game. That's the problem. It sucks because it could have potentially ended the game, but that doesn't mean that it cost them the game. They could have stopped the Rams on the next possession, and they had the ball first in overtime, and Drew Brees threw an interception. So, sorry, it's a sucky call, and, I'm not sure, I get that the NFL needs to come out and say, we're going to start looking at pass interference in regards to instant replay. And this one is that obvious play where it's, everybody in the world, except apparently the two officials that were there, everybody else saw that this was pass interference. What in the ever-living crap are you guys looking at? But on the flip side, too, just before that, there was a face mask call where it turns Jared Goff's head to the left that was completely missed. So if you flip-flop those two plays, and let's say that it's where the Saints missed call happens first, and then it's the Rams missed face mask that happens, we're going to be talking about the face mask penalty and not the missed pass interference penalty, because what happened on that one, that would have given the Rams a first down, but the call was missed. They didn't. They had to settle for a field goal. Same exact thing happens to the Saints. And I don't normally agree with Colin Cowherd. I actually quite frequently think Colin Cowherd is a bit of a blowhard. But the past couple of days, I think he's been spot on the vast majority of everything that he's been talking about. And one of the things that he brought up is recency bias. Or it's recency something. I don't know if it's bias or not, because I just actually got done arguing with Buzz about confirmation bias, which he was unwilling to accept that he has, which he has it in spades. But it's recency something, and it's where we're only looking at the most recent play. We're only looking at the most recent occurrence, and that was the missed pass interference, which I get it. It was more blatant than the face mask call, but both of those things did affect that game. One of them cost the Rams points. The other one cost the Saints points. The Saints did have a chance to win. They took the lead. They could have stopped the Rams. They didn't. They had the ball. They could have scored. They could have won the game. They didn't. So no. That call did not cost the Saints a chance at the Super Bowl. And it sucks because this is a year after the Minneapolis Miracle. And, you got Stephon Diggs catching that ball, hauling ass down the sidelines. It's rough being a Saints fan at this point, because it seems like you're making it right there and just getting knocked off the ledge constantly. But anyway, so moving on to the Patriots-Chiefs game. That one, again, I was trying to avoid because they start to make me nuts. It's the stress of the games. It's become too much for me in my old age. So the wife and I were kind of out driving around Austin. Our plane didn't leave until 9-something at night. So I'm getting updates from my friend who's a good friend who's a Patriots fan. And he's sending me texts, and I had my phone linked to the Bluetooth on the rental car. Okay. And so it's reading them to me, and they're fucking hilarious. Just coming through, being read through like a robot voice. It's pretty damn funny. But Patriots are up 14-0 at the half, and that's right when we get to the airport. And I'm like, I haven't watched, and this is how stupid I am when it comes to this stuff. is that you honestly think that whatever you're doing as a fan is going to dictate the outcome of the game. And I am willing to admit it's stupid. It makes absolutely no sense, but I still believe it and I still follow it. It's the stupidest thing on the planet, but I still do it. So when we get into the airport, the whole time I'm like, I absolutely cannot watch the game. I can't watch the game whatsoever because they've been winning with me not watching the game. You can't not watch the game when you're in the Austin airport. Every television is on this game. And this is after I ran into a TSA guy who saw my Patriots shirt on. He was a Patriots fan. So I was like, it's got to be good luck. Man, and then when we get in there, and the second I start looking at the TV is when the second half starts, and they score on that touchdown to Kelsey, and I'm like, see? Proof. That is proof right there. I shouldn't be watching the game because right there, I started watching and the Chiefs scored. It's all me. It's 100% me. But anyway, it's not. And I was talking to Glenn, who he's a big Patriots fan, and he had kind of the same thing going on. He was trying to figure out like his routine and how he does it. Because if you fuck it up, that's what you're going to think about. I still blame myself for last year's Super Bowl loss because, now follow me here. This is how fucked in the head I am when it comes to this weird stuff. Basically, I always have the same tabs on the top screen of my work computer. I always start with the weather, weather.com, and then it goes to NBC Sports, Bleacher Report, and then so on and so forth. And last year, the Friday before the Super Bowl, I mixed up NBC Sports and Bleacher Report. I flip-flopped them. And in my head, I'm like, fuck. That's literally going to do it right there. And that right there, the football gods, when it came to Brady fumbling the ball, they looked at that move by me and they said, he fucked up Bleacher Report and NBC Sports. That is why the Patriots are going to lose, at least in my own brain. But anyway, so it was interesting watching the game in the airport because obviously the vast majority of people, they are, hold on, we got to delete this dude from the chat. But anyway, vast majority of people are Chiefs fans. There's a couple of people who you can tell are definitely Chiefs fans because they got the jerseys and stuff on. The wife and I end up getting to this restaurant. We're watching the game so we can eat because, we were at the airport like 3 hours early. So as we're sitting there watching the game, there's like one lady with a Patriots hat on. Everybody else, I think, is going for the Chiefs. And one thing that came out after the fact that was really interesting is that the Patriots incorporated 8 new plays into their offensive playbook that morning, which is unheard of. That morning, they met at 11 o'clock in the conference room of the hotel, and they ran through 8 new plays that they had not done that morning. They ran 5 of those plays during the game. All 5 of them worked. All 5 plays gained yards. So if you want to constantly wonder about why the Patriots are who they are and why they constantly make it, and you can give me the bullshit about the cheating. Sorry, you're never going to fucking convince me of that. Everybody fucking cheats in the NFL. It's just that the Patriots were the ones that everybody wants to point the finger at because they win all the fucking time. By the way, balls were not fucking deflated. I was just talking to Nico about that. He's like, yes, they did. And I'm like, no, they didn't. They never proved that they were actually deflated. If you look at the facts of it, if anything, it points to the fact that they were not deflated. 60 Minutes did a whole thing on this. And this guy came in and he's like, yeah, like this is what the NFL came out with as their report. He goes, this is an error, this is an error, this is an error. This is where they're jumping to conclusions. And then this is where they literally jump to the conclusion that, the Patriots, and that's why the statement was so fucking weird, but I'm not going to get into that bullshit anyway. But that leads into the fact that everybody was hating on the Patriots and Brady while we're watching it. And my wife always roots against the Patriots. She can't stand them. Not always. I take it back. There was a few years ago, Patriots-Steelers game where she wore one of my Patriots like jackets or something because majority of her family are Steelers fans. So she did support the Patriots there. But vast majority of the time she's rooting against him. And all of a sudden as we're sitting there, like, cause I like roll my eyes and I told him, like, dude, like it really bugs me when you're outright rooting against them. Like you can, but don't hoot and holler about it. All right. And then she started to realize it. Like all of a sudden she's seeing everybody else and the lady behind us is how much she hates Tom Brady and all this other stuff. And like, all I want to do is watch the fucking game. I've been a Patriots fan before Belichick and before Brady. All I want to do is watch him play. I get the hate that they get because they win a lot, and Patriots fans can be fucking jerk-offs. They can arguably be some of the absolute worst fans on the planet. But every team can make that claim. There's Cowboys fans out there that are fucking terrible. There's Steelers fans that are out there that are fucking terrible. The entire New York Jets fan base is fucking terrible. I tell you what, not the entire one. Kaplowitz is a Jets fan. Kaplowitz is a great guy, and I know some good quality Jets fans. It just sucks that they root for a sucky team. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the wife kind of turns to me and she's like, I get it. And I'm like, get what? And she goes, why you don't like it when I'm rooting against the Patriots? Because everybody fucking does. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, unless you're at a Patriots bar, it's you against the world, which is fine because we've got Super Bowl championships and shit. And like, that's why I understand it. I get it. I get why people root against them. But she did tell me, she was like, she goes, I'll root for them this year. Now, whether or not she holds true to that, I have absolutely no idea. But she did say she would root for the Patriots. But it was really interesting watching this game. Chiefs make just a good solid comeback. And I'm trying to remember exactly what the timeline was because right as the game was ending was when we were boarding. And you want to talk about shitty timing. We are at the bar. They do last call because I think they closed at 9. God, what was going on in the game? I got to watch Rex Burkhead take the lead to put the Patriots up by 3. But there was still enough time where I'm like, the Chiefs are going to go down and score at least a field goal, and they're probably going to go to overtime. Like, in my brain, I know this. But I'm like, all right, cool, got the lead. Let's go get in line. And we get there, and all of a sudden, like, everybody's already in line. And my wife's like, why is everybody in line? I'm like, dudes, we aren't late. Like we were watching the game. So we get in line. The girl in front of us, she's kind of following the game on her phone. And ultimately, that's how we do find out Chiefs drive down. Chiefs kick the field goal, tie the game, go into overtime. We get in, we get our seats. We're doing Southwest, so you get to pick your seats. So we sit down, and then there's a guy that's coming down the aisle, and he's got the game on his phone. And as he's walking down, he sees that the aisle seat in our row is open, so he asks us if he can sit there, and we're like, absolutely. So he's watching the game. At this point, it's overtime, I think, has started, but I'm getting text messages from my buddy again. And he's a good 5 to 10 seconds ahead of this dude's phone. And he was rooting for the Patriots, by the way, too. So this guy was cool. I'm like, sit down. You're a good friend now. So come sit down, hang out with us. Because everybody else, obviously, they're rooting against the Patriots. And like one of the flight attendants is flipping a shit where she's walking by and she's like, oh, Tom Brady's going to cry. Tom Brady's going to cry because it's cold. And this is what bugs me is because it's people who just want to make these fucking claims. Dude, Tom Brady thrives in the cold. Tom Brady would fucking throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns on Hoth, for crying out loud. Like, he fucking owns the cold. So that's why I shut my fucking mouth. I'm not going to say anything, but I'm getting the text messages after like 5 to 10 seconds before the play's happening on this guy's phone. So I'm reacting, and finally my wife looks over and she's like, dude, you got to stop. Like, let us watch it, don't react. When she finally says that is when Burkhead runs it in to win the game. And that's why I got to say, I'm like, I can't move. I can't do anything. So then I'm just waiting for it to happen. And then when he punches it in, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I'm like hooting and hollering and stuff. And so they, there's some people who are, like down and out. But actually, think about it. There's a couple more people who are sitting around us that were Patriots fans. But so the flight attendant, they go up there, they start doing the whole safety procedures. And at one point, the one who's flipping us crap back here, she's like, "Oh, and I'm sorry, they're doing we have the food and drink for, this is what we'll be serving." She goes, "And we do apologize that we were not serving Patriots fans today." So they're like, whatever. So they're going through, they're starting to serve everybody, which Austin to El Paso is a pretty short flight. And so she comes and she's specifically like, they divvy it up between the 3 of them where one starts at the front of the plane, one starts about a third back, and then she starts about 2/3 back, which is right where we were. And she comes up to us and she's going to take our order. And she goes, look, I'm actually just joking. You guys have been really good sports about this. Drinks on us, order whatever you want. And I was like, dude, that's fucking cool, man. Like, I respect that. Like, that was super cool. So I got a whiskey. It was great. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool for her to do that. So it was a really interesting plane flight. And I told my wife as we were standing in line, I'm like, it's either going to be a really happy plane flight or it's going to be a really sad plane flight, depending on how this thing goes down. And I was hoping that it wasn't going to get to the case where we jump into the air and that's when all of a sudden, the winning score happens or something. But it wasn't as bad because with Southwest, you can log into their Wi-Fi and you can watch live TV. And that's how the one guy was watching it. is that he was able to watch it there on his phone. Um, I don't know if this guy knows this, but he does have to come sit next to me for the Super Bowl. Sir, I don't know who you were, but if you were on the plane flight from Austin to El Paso at 9:20 on Sunday, hit up the show, let me know, because you have to sit next to me. I'm sorry. They won with you sitting next to me. Those are the fucking rules, man. Like, you need to come hang out because we need to win the Super Bowl. But anyway, so one of the things that kept coming up too was overtime rules and how they need to be changed. And I've kind of been a big advocate of that because it always did seem silly to just allow the first team to score. Like, it was just it used to be a field goal. If you kicked a field goal, that was it. Game was over. End of game. And I understand why they changed that. And I've always been a really big advocate of both teams need to be able to possess the ball. I even felt this way after the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl, which, for me being a Patriots fan, you would think that I wouldn't be in that mindset where I was like, yeah, we scored, we won, don't let them touch it. But for me, I think both teams should be able to have a chance to score. But I heard an interesting argument to the contrary. And I can't remember who made this argument earlier this week because I've watched just a ridiculous – like, that's the thing is when the Patriots are doing good and when they win the AFC Championship, if they win the Super Bowl, I watch sports even more so than usual. And I usually watch a pretty good amount, or at least I'm listening to podcasts. And the argument I heard – and I really hope I don't butcher this argument but the argument that I heard is that you've already played 60 minutes to prove that you can win. Where do you draw the line when it comes to a team being able to possess the ball? Because everybody's their immediate claim is the Patriots won because they won the coin toss. That's not the case. Look at the Saints-Rams game. The Saints won the coin toss. The Saints got the ball. Rams got the ball back because they intercepted it. They put pressure on Breeze that caused a lame duck pass to go in the air, and they intercepted it. So it doesn't really have that much to do with the coin toss. It has more to do with your team and whether or not your defense can stop the other team's offense. Now, do I think it would have been reversed if the Chiefs had gotten the ball? I think the Chiefs probably could have won that game. I think they most likely would have won that game. I think the percentages are higher that the Chiefs would have scored a touchdown, at least a field goal. With the way that things have been going, because, it became a goddamn shootout at the end of that game. But I firmly believe that if the Chiefs had possessed the ball first, they probably would have scored and they probably would have won the game. But the Patriots did win the coin toss. But that doesn't mean that the overtime rule is wrong, per se. It has more to do with your team and can your defense stop when it matters. Because if you give one team a possession, they score a touchdown. Okay, we have to give the other team a chance to score. You kick it off to the other team, they go down. They score a touchdown. You're in the exact same spot that you were before, where if you just remove the one, ultimately your defense is going to need to make a stop, even if you do it that way. Your defense is going to take the field. Your defense has to make a stop. It's just doing the same thing right now, except you're just eliminating that other possession to get to an end result, preferably quicker, by saying, like, either you make them turn the ball over quickly or they score on you. And I honestly, for 38 years of my life, I've always been very much against the NFL overtime. It didn't make sense to me. But for some strange reason, earlier this week when I heard that, it clicked a light bulb in my head where I was like, you know what, that actually makes sense. And you would think it would be after something like the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl that would make me think that way. But no, I still firmly believed both, the Falcons should have been able to possess the ball. But now after hearing that argument, where do you draw that line? Because you've already played 60 minutes. You have to prove that your defense can stop the other team. I do like the fact that they took away the field goal thing because that did seem a little bit too easy. All you got to do, that's because that changes the strategy of the game. That changes how the game is played completely, knowing it's over when that field goal is kicked. To score a touchdown is completely different. So for some reason, that clicked in my brain. So that's the side that I'm on now. And you can argue the other point. I spent 38 years of my life thinking that. So I'm going to see your side of things. But it was weird to me that suddenly that changed in my brain that I'm like, yeah, that I get it now. It kind of makes sense, and I understand why they're doing it that way. And then another story that kind of got brought up here was the laser in Brady's face. Man, if this had been flip-flopped and it was in Foxborough and a laser was in Patrick Mahomes' face, we would not be done talking about it at this point. You think you're tired of hearing about the Saints-Rams missed pass interference call? Holy shit. This would be all that's on the news right now is it would have been some staff employee from Belichick shining a laser down into somebody else's eye, into Patrick Mahomes' eyes. It's fucking stupid. And it didn't happen just once. It happened multiple times. They've got footage of it happening throughout, I think, the majority of the game. Because the one that was blatant they kept showing, it was the one when Brady threw the interception that went off of Edelman's hands right after they got the ball back on the botched punt that Edelman did or did not touch. But it's the Pats' fault for building that kind of reputation. Well, there's a problem with that. The reason they have that reputation is that they win. And this is the issue that I try to express to people. But even when I was talking to Nico and Buzz about it right now, they're immediate, well, you're just a Patriots homer. Yeah, I'm willing to admit that. But I'm also willing to admit that there's been multiple times where teams have cheated, but it was never a fucking story because those teams suck. Like, if you think about it, if you want to talk about, things happening to the balls, there was I think it was a Panthers, it was a Panthers, somebody cold, like Green Bay or something game, and it was fucking freezing outside. The teams took their balls and they went, it's kind of funny saying that. They took their balls and they went and warmed them underneath these heaters. That's illegal. That's actually worse than what was apparently what the Patriots had done. But they got fined for it, and it gets swept under the rug. Not even really swept under the rug. It just gets forgotten about because nobody gives a shit about those two teams. The same thing goes for Spygate. And this is what I tried to explain to Nico earlier, was the fact that the reason that Mangini and the Jets busted the Patriots was because a month before the Patriots busted the Jets doing the exact same thing. They did. All you have to do is look these stories up. If you look up the actual timeline of everything, this is all there. But the only thing that people hear about, or the only thing that people see, and this is what bothers me too, is you get on the NFL Network where you got these former players who don't like the Patriots, or ESPN or anything like that. They're giving you their side of the story. And it's like, oh, well, they were taping their practice. No, they didn't tape their practice. They were taping games. And that was allowed. That was technically allowed under the laws, but the NFL came out and said, hey, if we couldn't have people in this position would be great. And then the Patriots did it because they had a guy over there. But what's interesting is the fact that there's a guy who's seen the tapes. There's a guy who still owns tapes. You know how they said they destroyed all the tapes and nobody ever knows what's on them? Jay Glazer has the tapes. This is another thing that constantly gets swept under the rug. Jay Glazer has copies of it. He's like, dude, I show them at parties. He goes, when I have people at my house, I've got the tapes. Because you know what the tapes show? Fucking cheerleaders. That's not a joke. Like, that's actually what it is. But nobody wants to see this. And coming from me, it's difficult for people to hear because I am a Patriots fan. Now, if they fuck up, if they make a mistake, if they did something wrong, absolutely I'm willing to admit it. But to make this claim that it's the Patriots' fault, it is not in any way, shape, or form their fault, unless it's because they win. Look at what happened with Deflategate. I'm going to completely take out the fact that majority of all facts show that the balls were never deflated whatsoever. What's happened to Tom Brady's stats since then? They've gone up. He's gotten better. So why the fuck would he want those balls touched? And it's still really funny talking about balls and stuff like this too. Why would he want his balls touched? But that's the thing that not a lot of people want to look at because it's easier to say, I fucking hate these guys. They're always in the Super Bowl and they cheat, which is not the reality. Although, interesting story. I listened to a podcast one time, and it was one of my sister we were driving to the coast when we were in Oregon one time, and it was about the history of football. And it had to do with Pop Warner and how he used to coach and how kind of bending the rules has always been in play when it comes to football. Every team does it constantly. The reason the Patriots are the ones that get called cheaters are because they win. They fucking win. That's the only reason why. Teams constantly get caught cheating. Guys get busted for fucking PEDs. Teams get busted for tampering. Teams get busted for all kinds of shit. But the Patriots are the ones who made the Super Bowl year in and year out constantly for the past 20 years. So they're the ones who are called cheaters, not these teams that don't fucking win. But Pop Warner did something brilliantly back in the day. This was pre-helmet, pre-pads, pre-everything. This is when they were actual sweaters. And he noticed that the fields became frequently muddy because of the people, this is before all the turf. We still have turf problems today. If you saw that Miami Patriots game, earlier this year, the one with the Miami Miracle at the end, there's big chunks of that turf coming up out of the ground. So, I mean, like, we don't even have it down to a science yet, or at least an exact science, I should say. But what he did is he wanted to disguise who had the ball. He wanted to confuse the other team. So they specifically made their sweaters and they put a football logo on it right here. So whenever it looked like somebody was running, it looked like they were holding a football. So the other team couldn't tell who had the ball. It was fucking brilliant. It wasn't against the rules. It was bending the rules slightly. And then I think eventually they had to make a rule to change that. But that was something that he did where they sewed on these football logos onto the jerseys to confuse the other team. And that's one of the strangest things about when it comes to football is it's always been one of the things is, kind of trying to bend the rule or seeing kind of what you can get away with. I mean, shit, there's, Mike Tomlin, when he stuck his fucking leg out at a guy who was returning a fucking punt. Like, pretty fucking blatant right there. But nobody wants to talk about it. Steelers didn't make even make the playoffs this year. So they're not cheaters. It doesn't matter. And that's probably one of my biggest issues of all of this. And that's why I get fucking heated, because even Nico and Buzz were like, dude, we don't care. And I'm like, well, I fucking do. Shut up and listen to my point. Okay? Shut the fuck up. So, but anyway, so I think that's about enough football talk for this one. I damn near took up the whole half hour. But anyway, we still have some other things. So we're going to make this AfterBuzz a little bit long. Cool sticking around, Producer Dave?
Good.
Fantastic. So we still have some other things that we need to talk about here. Because I wanted to get that football stuff in because I'm not sure how much football I want to get to next week. Unless, what kind of stories end up popping up, leading up to the Super Bowl. But we can move on to Oscar talk and the Oscar nominations that are out, because we've got Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsody are both nominated, and I saw them both. I liked them. I enjoyed them. I'll watch them. But I don't know if they're really Oscar worthy. But here's my dilemma. Because when you think of the Oscars, you think of a movie like Room with Brie Larson. Oh, that movie sucked. I could not stand that fucking movie. I tried. I fell asleep 4 times. It got to the point where after she was freed or whatever, I don't even know what the fuck happened at the end. Like, I remember waking up and she's like in a house with some other people, and I'm like, what is this? Is this the same movie? To me, it was a bad movie. If you like it, that's perfectly fine. Your taste is, a little bit sketchy. But there's a shitty movie in my mind. But then again, that's also what I think of when it comes to the Oscars. These weird movies that are like this. But I think what the Academy did this year, because we did a story a while ago about how the Academy was talking about they need to incorporate another category about blockbuster. What was the biggest blockbuster? Like, which one made? Because generally, the movies don't make a lot of money that are nominated for best category. They might after the fact, like, oh, it was a good movie, and then they re-release it or something like that. But as far as like big blockbuster hits, they're never in there. Black Panther was fucking huge. That made a ton of money. Bohemian Rhapsody, I think it surpassed Straight Outta Compton as highest grossing band biopic ever. So I can get their point in what they're trying to do, in the sense of we need to put movies in there that people have watched, because the viewership of the Oscars has continued to decline over the past few years. I think the only time I've watched in the past 20 years was when Heath Ledger was up for Best Supporting Actor. And that's just because I wanted him to win. But I find it funny that 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, was Oscar so white. Because, yeah, Hollywood's fucking known for being racist. Hollywood is known for, being so fucking conservative that they don't want black people in their award shows. Hollywood's fucking liberal, folks. This was just made up shit by liberals to get angry at liberals. This is why liberals are fucking stupid. They need to make up things to get offended by, and they get offended by their own shit. They get offended by their own people. Dude, shut up. Like, that's how stupid this gets about getting offended by things. Like, people are like, oh no, it's they're fucking whatever. Like, just pump the brakes. Realize that liberals are dumb as a brick when it comes to, I'm going to get offended by this. Why are you offended? I don't know. I saw it in a tweet. What? But I think that I honestly think for the Academy, they got to knock 2 things off of their checklist here. Like, hey, man, people got upset that we didn't have enough black people, or even just anybody other than white involved. Black Panther made a ton of money to bring in viewers, and it's about a Black Panther. It's not about a White Panther. It's about a Black Panther. That's awesome. So they threw that in there. I didn't see, was it Black Klansman? Was that the one about the undercover guy, I think, who joined the KKK?
I didn't see that.
I haven't seen it. I really want to, though, because I heard it's really good. So I can't judge that one at all. I heard that one is really Oscar worthy, though. But then when it comes to Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie was so cookie cutter. That movie was so simplistic when it came to this is the story of Queen, and it was just so generic. And the timeline was all fucked up. Dude, he didn't find out he had HIV until like 2 or 3 years after the Live Aid show. Seriously. So it's like, why are you guys? I don't know. It bothers me, but I understand it, I guess, is probably the easiest way for me to describe how the Oscars are going this year. Like, I understand what they're doing. Although I do find it weird that a movie that did as good as Crazy Rich Asians didn't get any nominations. But then again, it's, you know, it goes to the whole thing is like, if it's Asians, it's not racist. If it's black people, it is racist. I think I've heard people say that before. Not really sure how true that is. But I didn't see that movie either, so I can't judge whether or not that should have been nominated. I just know that I saw Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsody. And maybe it's just me being that actually like old stickler of, well, it's not what I'm used to. So why are they nominating it? But my argument against, I keep arguing with myself constantly here. The argument against that is I thought Infinity War was a far superior movie to Black Panther. I thought Infinity War was brilliant. The way that it was done, the way it incorporated all of the stories, to be able to do that with that many characters and to be able to tell the story that way and to have that ending, I thought was far superior to Black Panther. But then again, I'm not in the Academy, so. But I guess, we'll see. And I generally don't watch the Oscars. Buzz is a huge Oscar guy. He likes to throw Oscar parties, and he does like to do that. It's one thing I think is really kind of cool about the guy is that he will try to go make it a point to watch all of the movies that have been nominated, at least for the big awards, where you've got the Best Picture and actor, actress, supporting actor, and supporting actress. But we'll see. For me, it was kind of like it looked like the Academy was trying to stretch it a little bit there for these two. But anyway, moving on to our final topic, because we're going a little bit long here on this After Buzz, is fictional deaths. And there's the obvious ones. People bring up Mufasa from The Lion King, bring up pretty much anything from Harry Potter or Walking Dead or these shows that apparently Grey's Anatomy kills off more characters than both of those combined. I looked that up. Like this is something that kind of got brought up. And we finally did it this week because I remember I brought it up a couple of weeks ago about talking about this because I remember I stumbled into it when I was writing a blog about something. I can't remember what the blog was about, but it had to do with like fictional deaths. And fucking Grey's Anatomy pops up constantly on that list. And I'm like, dude, they're killing people off. But one death, and this really has more to do with just how brilliant this episode was. Did you ever see Scrubs, Producer Dave?
I've seen a few episodes, but not the entire series.
Okay. I love Scrubs. I've seen it. It's one of my go-tos. For some reason, I keep forgetting about it, though. When I talk about kind of my go-tos when I get home to watch TV and maybe zonk out and nap for a little bit, it's The Office, it's Friends, and Scrubs is right there as well. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, too. But anyway, so it was this one episode, and it kind of starts out early on. So you kind of know the main cast. Like there's JD. He's the main guy. Like he's the one that the story follows. And then you have Dr. Cox, who's his mentor, played by John C. McGinley, who's brilliant in that show. And then there is his John C. McGinley's or Dr. Cox's brother-in-law or former brother-in-law, because at the time, like I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to describe this, and I think at this point I'm just confusing the shit out of people. But anyway, it's Brendan Fraser's character who plays Ben. Ben is Dr. Cox's brother-in-law, and I think it's season 1 when Ben first shows up, and he's got a nail through his hand. They patch it up. They go out drinking. They're playing pool, and then they notice that it's still bleeding. So they take him back to the hospital. They run some tests, and it's exactly what they didn't want, which they find out he's got cancer. And so this was like a to be continued. It leads into the next episode. Ultimately, the cancer goes into remission, and everything is okay, and then he ends up leaving. Now, what's so brilliant about this is this gets brought back up a couple of seasons down the road. Ben is visiting again. He's been out on travels and stuff like that. And, he's just in there, and they keep telling him, like, you need to come in for checkups. And he hasn't been doing that. He hasn't been getting checked for cancer. And he ends up, God, gosh, how does the episode go? Oh, so Dr. Cox needs to leave, and he needs to pass this one patient off to JD. So he passes the patient off to JD. Dr. Cox leaves. A few scenes happen. They come back, and JD's just super depressed, and he's got this clipboard, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "I'm sorry, man. Like he didn't make it." And the whole time you're thinking it's this other patient, because what's so brilliantly done about this is they cause hallucinations for Dr. Cox seeing Ben. Ben's the one who passed away. As this scene unfolded, you go back and you kind of watch it. You're seeing it right there, where nobody else sees Ben. He's reacting to Dr. Cox, and Dr. Cox is reacting to him, but nobody else is. And it's so well done, you don't notice it at first. Like, you just are kind of watching the episode. Dr. Cox gets pissed off. He's like, this shouldn't have happened. It was just a couple of tests. How could you? And so he's blaming JD, and he kind of flies off the handle, where he's sleeping at the hospital. He's growing a scraggly ass beard, and the whole episode keeps progressing, and he's talking to Ben this whole time. And they're throughout the episode, they're planning a birthday party for Dr. Cox's son. And as they're planning this party, it's a birthday party for somebody, I think it's his son. So the way that this episode ends, he's in the street and he's talking to Ben, and he's talking to him. All of a sudden, JD comes up and he goes, "Who are you talking to?" And then when he turns around, Ben's not there anymore. And he turns around and JD's like, "Where do you think we are?" And Dr. Cox is like, "Oh, people singing happy birthday to my son who've never met him before, blah, 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 blah." And that's when JD makes the comment, "Where do you think that we are?" And all of a sudden they turn and you realize it's the funeral for Ben. And it's just the episode, if you've never seen Scrubs, if you have Hulu, it's available on Hulu. If you've never seen it, go watch these episodes with this character, with Ben. Watch the original ones from season 1, and it's season 4, maybe 3 or 4, I think, when this happens. And it's brilliantly, brilliantly done. The way that they kind of tell the story arc, and then that specifically the one episode where he dies. I can't praise it enough. So if you do have a chance, if you have Hulu, definitely go watch that. So on that note, we're about ready to wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. I do have to make a plug for my dog, Chewbacca. We do have up on BuzzAdamShow.com, we do have a poll of vote for the cutest pet for the morning show. Like, whose pet is the cutest? So Joanna's got a couple of cats. Lisa's Tubby is in there. And then I've got my dog, Chewy, and then my wife's dog, Fuckface Rocky, is there as well. And when I sent Emily the pictures, I was going to put in there, like, "Hey, this is Fuckface Rocky. Don't worry about putting Fuckface in there or whatever." Simply because, it's a work email. I don't want to say Fuckface, but I can say Fuckface here because Rocky's a Fuckface. He's obnoxious. He stinks. But he looks adorable right there. Like, right, Producer Dave?
He does.
So if you go to the blog, the main picture at BuzzAdamShow.com, it's of Rocky. Rocky's a fuckface. And actually, Kim's asking about why no picture of Nico for Buzz, which is pretty funny. But, he also never actually put in the picture for his dogs either. So my dog, Chewy's on there. Chewy's a badass. So go vote for Chewy. And I don't want to say screw Fuckface Rocky because that's my wife's dog, but Fuckface Rocky. But yeah, so go check it out. It's over at BuzzAdamShow.com, and I'm not sure how long the poll is going to be going, but vote for Chewy, man. Chewy's a good dog. Chewy's a good guy. He's been there through thick and thin with me for what's today? Oh, he had a birthday. Shit, I missed his birthday. It was like last week. I'm a bad owner. But vote for him. That'll be his birthday present. If he wins, it'll be his birthday present because I think he turns 11 this year. So, he's old as fuck. And see, Producer Dave here is putting the Fuckface Rocky picture up. This is Fuckface Rocky, by the way, which he's not really a fuckface. Like, he's actually a pretty cool dude. He's my nap buddy because Chewy's not allowed on the furniture because Chewy's too big and gets hair all over everything. But Fuckface Rocky, I'll be sitting like this and I'll be asleep on the couch. And all of a sudden I'll wake up because something fucking stinks. It's Fuckface Rocky. He smells. But anyway, go ahead and vote over there at BuzzAdamShow.com. Before we wrap this thing up, make sure, down below, you guys are liking, you guys are subscribing, you guys are hitting the bell, all of that fun stuff, because we're going to have much more videos coming up. I will be here next week. I'm off this Friday from the show because I'm getting surgery, getting my shoulder cut to get that torn labrum finally fixed. So, and Ashley says, so cute. You didn't fucking listen, Ashley. Shut up. Vote for Chewy, not Fuckface Rocky. All right? Anyway, But yeah, so this Friday I'm going in for shoulder surgery, but I will be back next week. It should be interesting on the show because I think Joanna and I will most likely be switching roles because at least for next Monday and Tuesday, I'm not going to really have a lot of movement with my left arm, and you have to be able to use both hands when you're doing my job. You got like it's a requirement. You got to be able to do both of that stuff, or use right and left. Um, but yeah, so we'll probably switch. So I'll be back behind with her, and then she'll be over in the producer studio. But yeah, so go vote for Chewy. And then we got more stuff coming up. Got the Pro Bowl this weekend. Pro Bowl sucks. And I did mention how I would like to see a skills challenge at the Pro Bowl. They do one. Like they've been doing one for years. It's just they don't promote it right, and it's not really the kind of like I don't know, man. Like it seems like it could be done better because I want one of those really like true uh, like skills challenge, like the old Quarterback Club. You guys remember Quarterback Club? Do you remember Quarterback Club?
I don't remember that one.
Damn it! So there was, I believe it was a video game too, and it was super cool. I mean, they do this with the quarterbacks now and stuff, but it's just a bunch of targets, and then your pinpoint accuracy, and you see what you can hit, and all this other fun stuff. But anyway, so that would be kind of cool. Also, I am still working on that podcast with a person who's far more famous than I am. And this person and I have been talking. We're hopefully going to get that thing going here in like a week or so. At least, yeah, that's the goal. But it just kind of depends on the timeline of everything. But if you do have any questions, again, I repeat that this is really odd that I'm asking you to send questions when you don't know what the podcast is about, if you don't know who this person is. But even like if you have a life question, if you have just a question about anything out there, and you want our advice on it, by all means, you can fire it away to Brandon@BuzzAdamsShow.com. Did you put Chewy's picture up there for me? Yeah, it's the boy. That's the good one. This dude. This guy's the shit. And he's wearing the green bandana in this picture because it was my birthday. My birthday's St. Patrick's Day. So we dolled him all up in a nice, sweet green bandana. And this dog is the shit. Except when he's an asshole, because he can be an asshole, but he's awesome. I love this fucking guy.
Vote for Chewy.
Yeah, go vote for Chewy, BuzzAdamShow.com. Anyway, on that note, we got to wrap this up. We ran a little bit long. I kind of got rambling there a little bit in my Patriots love. And here's the thing. I get that it's difficult to hear pro-Patriots things coming from a Patriots fan. Like, that's an immediate, like, well, obviously you're being biased. Obviously, you're going to say these things because you're a fan. But one thing I pride myself on, and this is probably why I get so heated and why I do get so loud, one thing I pride myself on is being able to see all sides of a point of view. That's why I try to not have a gut reaction when it comes to things. That's why I try to limit any sort of immediate, well, this is what it has to be. Because that's usually when you get in trouble, because that is usually confirmation bias that's coming through when you see something or hear something and you're immediately jumping to a conclusion. And that's the problem, is that when you jump to that conclusion immediately, it's difficult to get away from that conclusion. It's difficult to start to look at other points of view because you've already locked into what you're going to think. And do I fail at it? Absolutely. One of the things that Buzz and Nick were like, oh, well, everybody else suffers from confirmation bias except for Brandon. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. No, I'm willing to admit it. I suffer from it too. But the difference that I try to make, at least for me, is I try to acknowledge it and look past it and look around it and make sure that I am listening or looking at other points of view. And what I'm trying to do is to look at it so that I want to find the correct answer. I don't want to prove my point right. I want to find the correct answer. And I think that gets lost quite frequently. And I think that one of the reasons that it went the way, because eventually it's Buzz like, I don't care. I don't care. And I'm like, well, that's easy for you to say at this point. I'm like, it's easier for you to say you don't care, because he's like, he just kept reiterating these things where he's like, well, you're just yelling at us, all these facts. And I'm like, yeah, that's because these are facts. These are things that happen. He goes, but you said this. And I'm like, I did. And I've admitted that. And I said, I think this. That doesn't make it a fact. If I say I think this, it makes it an opinion. But I'm basing that opinion on fact. Like it's, well, again, I know this is going to get just fucking super boring talking about these goddamn deflated balls. But there's no way to prove one way or another that they were actually deflated. All you can do is look at what the NFL reported and what was done, and then you come to your conclusion. And I get what they're saying. It's really, really easy to see a guy like me who's a Patriots fan, and you're gonna what's the first thing you're gonna say, producer Dave? If I'm a Patriots fan and I'm giving you a spiel on Deflategate, what angle or what side do you think I'm taking?
The Patriots side, obviously.
Yeah, the balls weren't deflated because it's got to be biased, right? But for me, that's not what I want. I don't want to confirm my belief. I don't want to confirm that the Patriots aren't cheaters. If they are, okay, I'm willing to fucking admit it. That's not going to mean I'm going to stop rooting for them. I mean, if they do some fucking really crazy shit, that's blatant, then yeah, obviously, then I'm willing to, admit that. And they're like, okay, maybe we need to go look at a new team here. But I want to be able to look at the whole picture, and that's probably one of the most difficult things, is especially coming from a Patriots fan. And that's what I was trying to talk to Buzz about too. Is like, boy, your confirmation bias comes through quickly. And we started talking about the Colin Kaepernick stuff because Buzz goes super right into this whole it's a conspiracy, this, and this, and I'm like, but these are the steps that happened. I'm like, and you're like, look, you are still more than welcome to come to that conclusion, but if you're not willing to take these things into account, because when I bring those things up, it always gets met with, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
What? But that's the definition of confirmation bias. That's exactly what it is. If you're not willing to take a piece of evidence and include it into your thought process. If you want to come to the same conclusion, that's perfectly fine. But to go, that doesn't matter, that's the definition of confirmation bias. But anyway, we spent way too much time on confirmation bias and way too much time on balls recently on the AfterBuzz. So we'll come back next week about what I don't have any fucking idea. I usually kind of wing this shit as it is. It was just easy this week, and we weren't long because I didn't want to have a lot to talk about when it came to the conference championships. But if there is anything you guys want brought up, you can always email me. It's Brandon. What was the one we were doing? Is it at Buzz Adams Show? Hold on, the producer Dave bring this up here.
Yes, Buzz Adams Show.
Okay, so it's Brandon at BuzzAdamsShow.com. You can also hit us up on Facebook. Man, talking to fictional deaths today, that blew up our Facebook. I don't think we've gotten that many messages in a long time. It was constantly just people bing, 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 bing. Yep. And some people kept bringing up the Han Solo death. Oh my God, the Han Solo death. It wasn't that he died because I kind of expected it. Quite frankly, because some shithead friend of mine shared it on Facebook. And I saw it the night before it came out. We saw it, we saw it that day after the show. We went and fucking saw it that day. Some shithead friend fucking, fucking ruined it. So it wasn't the death of Han Solo. Oh, it's Chewbacca, man. Oh, fuck, dude. That, the scream that he has, the roar, right? It's fuck, dude, that's his buddy. Oh, that sucks. Chewbacca's going to make me cry every time. Even my dog. He's the shit. Anyway, on that note, we'll wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. We'll see you bright and early, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for the Buzz Adams Morning Show, and then next week, 10:30 Mountain Time. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the bell. See you later.